This is the pay yourself first, George S. Clason, Richest Man in Babylon in the 1920s book that still makes sense today, because if you don't pay yourself first, all the bills get paid, lifestyle expenses come out, and there's hardly anything left over, if anything. But if you do it first, then you take care of everything else. You can become more resourceful. You can be really deliberate with everything that you do. Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions. Do you feel like you're behind on your finances and setting up for your future, or that maybe even it's too late for you? Did you think that you'd just be further ahead, but there's just been surprises and setbacks that have been super hard to overcome? Could be anything like owing the IRS money, or having your retirement underperform, or losing a job. We're all in store for financial surprises, but with the right planning and information, these things don't have to derail you. It's time to replace myths and cliches that are holding people back, like, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or I'm just too old, et cetera, et cetera. Look, money doesn't have to be a struggle. All work doesn't have to be hard work. Our next question comes in from Sharon, and she has the right mindset. Better late than never. She knows what she wants to invest in, but wants to know how to get there, how to be prepared, and how to avoid missteps. It's time to take control of your finances, turn your ideas into profits, and build the life you love with Chief of Staff Stoba.
Let's do it.
Look, you just got excited.
I just got so empowered in that last sentence you read.
Good.
Okay. I think it would be fun to start this way before we dive into the question. So on the breaks, we talk a lot about, you guys are talking about movies today.
Yeah, I love movies. Yeah.
So and I can barely contribute to the conversation because I do not know that stuff very well. But if you had a documentary made about your life, who would you want? What actor would you want to play you?
Keanu Reeves.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Anybody else? Who would be your second and third pick?
This person wouldn't even be like the right person, but I just think Christoph Waltz is one of the most amazing actors, especially in, the Tarantino movies that he did. Mm-hmm. But that's not really the right actor for me.
Yeah, but you just
he's
like
short and German.
Not tall with a long hair and beard.
There's a little hammering in the background. We got work going on at the podcast studio. But all right, let's jump into the question here with Sharon.
Okay.
Who would you have play yours?
Ooh, I would think maybe Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts.
Or Mandy Moore.
Okay.
I love This Is Us.
I'm more like Mandy. I think Mandy Moore.
Yes, she's fantastic in that show.
You're Amanda. She's Mandy. She is great in that show.
Yeah.
I stopped watching it, but I loved the first few seasons.
Oh, you got to pick it back up.
Okay.
All right, you ready to dive into the question?
All right, let's do this.
Okay, the question came in from Sharon. She says, I have a pension from a previous employer that's valued at about a little over $36,000. I've been following you recently on how to better manage my finances. My husband and I have a trucking business, and we owe taxes to the IRS, which has caused them to place a lien on our house for a little over $16,000. We are working with a company now to do an offer and compromise. We have applied the strategy that you have taught us using the cash index so that we know which debts we need to tackle first. That's a great place to start. We have also learned from you on setting the foundation of having 6 months worth of expenses in the bank. We want to invest in multifamily dwellings when we create cash flow. Mm-hmm. My question to you is, should I wait until we negotiate an offer and compromise before I take the money from the pension to help fund the 6 months expenses, and then work on putting a percentage aside for the rest of the 6 months of expenses, investment account, and the guilt-free account? I feel behind, but I feel that it's better late than never.
Okay.
Thank you for your input on helping a 54-year-old restructure and rebuild a foundation so she can do it right.
Awesome. All right.
I love hearing that.
I've got a lot to say about this. Right now, people can take up to $100,000 from their retirement plans without the 10% penalty. And for a lot of people, there's less tax for them in 2020 because income is down. So let's talk about a few habits that I think are going to be important. Mm-hmm. We don't want to rush to get the 6 months set aside into the account. So cashing this out, I would say talk to whoever's negotiating or working on the tax, the tax lien. And since it's against a mortgage, once it's settled, maybe there's a way to refinance, pay that off, and then still have the full pension money available.
Okay.
Because interest rates are low, and that refinance might not even be a higher payment, even if you pay that off because of how low they are. So that's one thing to look at. The second thing is any income that is coming in, even during tough times like right now, I think it's imperative that people start putting money aside. So set an automatic percentage every time you make a deposit. It goes into a separate account. It could be a checking, money market, savings account. This is the pay yourself first. George S. Clason, Richest Man in Babylon, in the 1920s book that still makes sense today, because if you don't pay yourself first, all the bills get paid, lifestyle expenses come out, and there's hardly anything left over, if anything. But if you do it first, then you take care of everything else. You can become more resourceful. You can be really deliberate with everything that you do.
Yeah, that was a game changer for me when I started doing this in my own life, because I would pay all the bills.
To you?
Yes, actually you did.
Oh, nice.
Thanks, Gunderson.
Mandy Moore.
I wish I were her. Play This Is Us. Okay.
Wow, I think you just thought of yourself kissing your husband in that show or something.
Jack.
I'm not sure. Yeah, Jack.
Oh,
He's
my.
dead. He didn't make it.
Oh, no. Spoiler alert. Hopefully.
All right.
Okay. All right. That's all I had to say.
Okay,
it is a game changer.
All right. So, pay yourself first. Now, I think it's great that you hired someone to take care of this IRS issue. That's really important. Like I said, once it's settled, maybe refinance and restructure to see if there's some things that you can do there. And if you're going to get involved in multifamily, investing as far as units, I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity there, because there's some people that are in luxury homes or more expensive homes that are losing their jobs. We're seeing a major rise in unemployment at the time that we're recording this. They're going to have somewhere to live. So if someone is going to go invest in that, I highly recommend getting a course, hiring a mentor, really starting to dive in right now, because mistakes are going to be a lot more expensive in this type of an economy. See, when I first invested in real estate, I thought I was really smart, but it was just timing. I just happened to be investing at the right time where the market was just going up and up and up. So if you made a mistake, the increased appreciation can kind of cover it up. But right now, where some of the market's going to go down and lending could change, you want to be really, really intelligent about it. So whether that's a mentor, whether that's a course, whether that's anything that you can do, Sharon, to kind of figure that out, I think it's going to be essential. So one other thing that I would say here is, if someone gets into real estate and they treat it like a business, they really fully get into it. When you spend more than 750 hours a year on real estate, you actually become a real estate professional for tax purposes, which gives you a lot of tax advantages, probably one of the most major loopholes that are out there. So I if you're going to do it, go all in.
Yes.
Do it right.
Don't treat it as a hobby.
Get cash, have liquidity. She's already focused on that 6 months of savings, have the right people that are supporting you, get really good at one thing. Just focus on one area. Like, don't go and invest in a bunch of different properties of different types throughout the country. Kind of find what regions make sense. I was just interviewing someone for Forbes where they have they're in an area where there's a lot of government workers and, there's universities, there's all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stability. And they're not far from New York City, so they actually are doing really well with their Airbnb right now, because people are going, I can just rent that long term, and they're spending more for it just so they can get out of the city. Like, really be cautious and careful, but also deliberate and intentional with what you do when it comes to that type of investing. So I don't ever think it's too late to get started, as long as you got energy. And really, I think the notion of retirement is kind of a faulty notion, where people retire from value creation, they retire from service, or they go, what else? What are you going to do? Think of something that's going to entice you and excite you and have you feel engaged. And as you learn, you feel like this new sense of purpose and confidence. And so I feel that that's something that Sharon could do.
Yes. And I agree with you. 53 is pretty young.
She's 54 though, isn't she?
It's never too late. I don't remember.
I thought
53, 54, 63, 64.
Young, 54 is old. I mean, my son said that why am I so much older than my wife, even though we're like 9 months apart. Hair. And then he's like, I'm like, well, how old do you think I am? He's like, in your 60s, maybe 50s.
Wow.
Bro, that is hurtful. That is hurtful. So, hey, this is really pointed and direct for Sharon. Build the life you love, turn your thoughts into profits, and keep the questions coming. We'll find solutions and answers.